New Orleans might be known for its cuisine, but I'd argue that the most appetizing thing is not even on the menu. It's the people watching.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Welcome to Travel FOMO, the podcast. I'm Hillary Houghton, and I am here with my co-host and my husband and my ride or die, Jamin.
What's up?
We're in the middle of our Cities in the State season, and in case you missed it, we talked about Vegas last week. What happened in Vegas did not stay in Vegas.
No, it did not. We told all about it, so you won't want to miss that. Go back and listen to it if you haven't already.
Yeah.
And this week, we've got another exciting city to go to. We are headed to New Orleans.
That's right. Both of those cities, I have to say that we're not really big partiers, so this lineup is really deceiving so far. These two cities.
Yeah, it does seem like we're like on a bender around the U.S., but that's not quite what happened.
Exactly.
We just start off with two cities that have big personalities.
Yeah.
That
delicately said.
People have the best times that they never remember there. But we're also headed to some other great cities in this season. We'll go to places like Chicago, San Antonio, Orlando, kind of all around. Yeah. So a lot more to come.
Right. And some smaller places too, like Salida, Colorado, and Marfa, Texas, and some little places you might not have known of. So
yeah, some big ones that everybody's been to and some hidden gems as well.
Absolutely. And as we dive into this conversation about New Orleans, we do want to make sure that you guys are subscribed to the Travel FOMO podcast. You can do that from wherever you're listening, and that'll just ensure that you get notified every week whenever an episode releases. So
that's right. We'll share what we learn about different people, places, and cultures. Yeah. And speaking of culture, New Orleans actually has a lot of it.
So much.
I think of all the places that I've been in the U.S., it is the most like a foreign city.
Ooh, interesting thought.
Granted, yeah. I'm not the most well traveled around the U.S., so I haven't been everywhere. I want to go everywhere, and hopefully will in the future. But the places that I have been, it does seem the most like another country.
That's really interesting thought. Yeah. It's got a lot of French influences, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. So you was part of France for a while. And so...
Oh, I forget.
Yeah.
You're so good on the history.
But, and that really makes it really interesting. And, there were pirates there for a while, and it's a really old city. It's part of the South. And so all of that, the Cajun culture that's there, it all sort of comes together and makes New Orleans what New Orleans is, which is really cool. And you can see that in, like the French Catholics brought along Mardi Gras, which, like Fat Tuesday and then Mardi Gras gets celebrated a lot of places, but none more so than New Orleans.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
So big there. It's so like in the schools there, like the Catholic influence in the schools, and jazz music, in New Orleans. The funerals in New Orleans are different than they are anywhere else in the U.S. So much of it is just unique to New Orleans and the people there. And the people from New Orleans are proud of New Orleans, and they're proud of like those differences in the culture and what makes it unique. And so that's really cool too. Like when people are proud to be from somewhere, and when people like the stuff that other people who haven't experienced it might look at it and go like, oh, that's really strange, or I don't understand, why do you do that? But people in New Orleans are really proud of it, and they'll walk you through it and explain like, well, this is why, like, this is what we do here, and this is why we do it, and they love it, which is really cool.
I do love that. And actually, as you say that, that's a great opportunity for us to give some shout outs to some of our Louisiana peeps that the people that we know who have influenced our knowledge on Louisiana, and they would do this conversation so much more justice. So
right.
But shout out to Brian Davis, Ross Blackstone, Lewis Adams, Ashley Ashley Hill. She lived there during college and right before Hurricane Katrina hit. So that was crazy. And then Jonathan from Blue Cross.
Yeah, Jonathan Guyton.
Yeah, one of the people you know. So all of these people influenced our view on Louisiana as a whole. And so it's kind of fun to think about them whenever we have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, New Orleans is known for the French Quarter, and that's what a lot of people think of, Bourbon Street and that whole scene. And there's a lot more to it than just that, but that's really something cool to experience and that you definitely want to check out when you go. It's where like the Mardi Gras kind of happens everywhere in Louisiana, but the really big stuff really goes on down there in the French Quarter, and Mardi Gras is basically it's a celebration leading up to Fat Tuesday, which is the day before Ash Wednesday when Lent starts. And so for Lent, you're giving up a bunch of stuff, you're abstaining from a bunch of stuff. So really it's that, when you're going to go on a diet on Monday and you eat everything that you shouldn't on Sunday, yep. That's what Mardi Gras is on like a much bigger scale. And it's part of what they do down there, and school is out for it. Like spring break happens kind of everywhere else, but there it's Mardi Gras.
Interesting. And I didn't know that.
Yeah, it really is a big deal and a big part of their culture there, parades and stuff like that everybody stops down for. So we weren't there during Mardi Gras, but from everyone that I've talked to and stuff I've seen, like it's just out of this world. Yeah. But down there in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street, there's always something going on down there, always a party scene.
Right.
Always that kind of stuff. A lot of adult beverages.
Yes, adult beverages.
Yeah, a lot of stuff for grown-ups. And a lot of cocktails that sort of originated there and are famous down there, like Sazerac. If you've ever had a Sazerac, if you're a fan of that, it's from there. Hurricanes. We actually went to Pat O'Brien's where like the hurricane started, and we had a hurricane there.
Yeah. And it has its own glass, which I think is kind of interesting too. Like it was like such a big drink that it actually has its own glass shaped like a hurricane lamp, which most people don't necessarily know that's, the reason it's shaped that way, which I thought was really interesting. Sazerac was the official drink of New Orleans. I didn't really know that until I kind of paused, we started looking back at all this. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and the stuff like French 75, frozen daiquiris, gin fizz, slow gin fizz, like that kind of stuff. Coming out of there, brandy milk punch, hand grenade. Like if you're in New Orleans and down on Bourbon Street, you see people walking around with those hand grenades. Like just so much comes from there, kind of originated there.
Yeah. And it leads to such great people watching.
It does. And particularly when we were there, we got to see, and I'm not sure what these people had been partaking of, like if they were drinking Sazeracs or French 75s, the classy stuff like that, or if they were just hammering tequila or something. But we were in the lobby of our hotel, and we were waiting for our friends, Jeremy and Casey were on the trip with us.
Yeah.
And so we were in the lobby of the hotel. We were going to wait for them to come down, and we were going to go to dinner.
And it was a nice hotel, right?
Yes.
Hotel St. Marie.
Hotel St. Marie. It was great.
Yeah,
loved
really
that place.
Nice. It had it just had a lot of deep South vibes to it. Very classy, I thought.
Yeah. I loved it. When we were only there one night, but it was a great place to stay right in the French Quarter. But as we're there in the lobby of the hotel, there is a wedding party, and you could tell like they're all together and they're about to go to the wedding. And you can tell this, in my opinion, because all the groomsmen are still like, all of their jackets are on, their ties are tied, and they're like boutonnieres are on. And if you've ever been to a wedding, you know that as soon as the bride and groom walk down the aisle, at least two of the groomsmen, the tie's coming off and like things are getting loosened up. But
good observation.
Yeah, everybody was ready to go, but there was a bridesmaid who was just, she had been doing battle all day long in like one of those little bars, and it was not good.
She was not going to be a part of that wedding.
No, she was cross-eyed and looking around. At one point, she laid down on a couch, and I think everyone got to see what she had for breakfast.
Yep, someone brought her a bucket.
Yeah, and,
right there in the lobby.
Right, and this is like middle of the afternoon, and you can just tell like somebody is not making this wedding. She's not going to be in the pictures, and hopefully she's family. Otherwise, she's probably disowned at this point.
I mean, I feel like I remember the bride even looking over and being like, I don't even want to look at that. Like, I don't even want to acknowledge what's happening. There were a few, like a couple of the groomsmen were trying to be like somewhat helpful until I think they started to realize that like this situation isn't going to get any better. And the closer I stay to it, the more I become associated with it. Yeah.
And so I like, eventually everyone kind of backed away and just led her to her own demise there in the hotel lobby in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was so funny. That was really crazy. I mean, it was just such a good example of like, well, quite frankly, it was everything we hoped for in people watching.
Well, you kind of knew, like, okay, we're headed down to like the French Quarter. We're going to be on Bourbon Street. Well, people will probably be getting rowdy. I honestly thought that the sun would be down before people were quite that rowdy.
Right.
But that was not the case.
That was not the case. I've always wondered what happened to her, and like, was she in the wedding? Like because, like you could tell everyone's still rallying the troops, but keep in mind, like, she's not the only one that's had a little bit to drink. You're talking about a full wedding party that was being highly entertaining, I should say. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, there were a lot of fixers initially. A lot of the bridesmaids, oh my goodness, let's help you. Yeah. Let me help you with that, Megan.
Oh, man. And we were on our way to have dinner. Yeah. So I think we were headed to where we had some great oysters at the Royal House Oyster Bar.
Yes.
That was that night.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were with our friends Nelson and Casey. Man, the thing about New Orleans is the food is truly, such a highlight. There's so much that is highlight and so much culture, but the food is a huge part of that. And you can get anything from po' boy sandwiches, jambalaya, crawfish, etouffee, shrimp and grits.
Yes.
I remember I had some amazing shrimp and grits down in the Garden District at Brick and Spoon the next day, and I think that one's actually closed. I was looking it up, and it's I don't know if it's COVID or what, it got shut down, but there are several throughout the South. So Brick and Spoon is a place people might want to check out, and there's crawfish boils. There's all kinds of stuff that is very New Orleans centric, including King's cake, which we didn't have this while we were there, but I just find it so fascinating that it's such a huge part of the culture there. Yeah. And the people that I know from Louisiana have really, what do I say? Like, they've really almost promoted and taught me about King's cake, I guess you could say.
Yeah. They really hang on to those traditions. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Lewis Adams, we would work together, and he would always bring everyone in the office a King's cake every year. And so that was always cool. But it is basically, it's kind of like a braided sweetbread, and it's kind of in a circular kind of cake, I guess you could say, and then it's got icing. It's usually in some sprinkles, and it's usually green, purple, and yellow. The colors that you see a lot down there.
Right. Too. And isn't there something with it, like somebody gets a lucky piece or something like that?
Yeah. So customarily, like, somebody ends up finding there's somewhere in it is like a baby.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And whoever gets the baby, I think, oh gosh, I forgot this part. I think it's like you have to bring cake next year.
Right. It's
or
like a year
like
of good luck, and then you're the one that brings the next
something
cake,
like
right?
that. Yeah. So I always thought that was really fun. And I would never otherwise probably eat that cake. But every year, Lewis would bring it to work. And every year I was like, cool, I'll take some. Sounds
as
good.
long as I don't get the baby, so I have to bring it next year.
Exactly. But, he was so cool, and it was so much his tradition that he made sure.
He would just take it on.
Yeah, and he would take it on every year.
That's cool.
Very cool, yeah.
When you're planning a trip, what are the tools you use? Have you ever thought about a better way? To plan more efficiently, to save money, optimize time? We all have some kind of limits on our resources. Time, money, energy. Let's find a way to make the most of them. Let's find a way to help each other take the best possible memories with us when we head home from our journey. If your product does that, let's get together and share it here. The food there really is such a part of the culture, so unique. And I remember we had beignets.
Yeah, those
were
were
we
big
were down there, and we went to Café du Monde, which is where everybody tells you to go, like it's the famous place, and it's a huge place. We went there with Jeremy and Casey Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Like after dinner, we kind of walked around and saw some stuff. Ended up at Café du Monde, had some beignets, and there was like a huge like seating area inside, and then we went out and sat on the porch. And I'm sure you probably remember this, but we're sitting there. We had our beignets. I think we'd like taken some pictures together. And we're kind of sitting around. It had been really hot that day and was still kind of muggy, but it was just starting to cool off. So we're sitting there, and there's some people not far away, probably like 6 or 7 feet away, and a cockroach the size of a cat. And they were outside, like we were on the patio, and they were even outside of the patio. So like they were a ways away from any food or anything like that. But this cockroach crawled up this guy's, I remember seeing it crawl up this guy's pants, and then up under his shirt was untucked and just inside the shirt.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know what to do, because do you tell, excuse me, sir,
right.
A cockroach just climbed up your shirt? And the cockroach was a big enough size that I was afraid that if I fronted it out like that, it might get mad at me, and there would be an altercation between me and the cockroach.
How big was it really?
I mean, you could ride it. I'm pretty sure you could ride it.
How big was it really?
No, but I mean, honestly, it was probably 3 inches long. Not even kidding. And
well, because we were a ways away too. You saw it from a long ways away.
Right. Well, I saw the license plate on it from a long ways away. It was huge. And I remember thinking we gotta get out of here.
Go.
I can't wait for that cockroaches gang to come and
hang out.
Yeah, be part of this thing.
So, my gosh, I totally remember that. Except you and Nelson, y'all, I think maybe you told him or y'all both saw it, but y'all wouldn't tell us girls because you knew the night would be over.
Yeah, well, there would be a stage 5 emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and something interesting for our listeners to understand is that we're from the hood in Dallas. So we've lived in Oak Cliff, and anybody who's lived in Oak Cliff knows that cockroaches come in a bunch of different sizes.
Yeah.
And you get used to it. You learn to bomb your house so hard, so often. And even if you do, it doesn't mean that that you won't have problems outside your home and all kinds of stuff. So we've been used to seeing...
Yeah, we're familiar with them.
Some really big cockroaches.
Yeah.
And you might see them no matter where you are in Oak Cliff. But yeah. So the fact that it freaked you guys out, that told me it was so big.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure it's still in New Orleans,
yeah.
doing bench presses right now or something. I don't know.
So did the guy react?
No, that's the thing, is he didn't even move.
You kept thinking he would probably shake it
right,
off.
Be huh, there's a 5-pound insect inside my shirt right now. But no, there was no reaction.
So creepy.
Yeah, it was.
We still talk about that too. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a crazy story. Yeah, let's see. Okay, what else about New Orleans is so amazing? The music is awesome.
Yeah, like the jazz there. Like, well, we went to that place, right?
Yeah, we went to I believe I might be butchering this, Fritzl's European Jazz Club.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pub. Yeah. And great vibes. I mean, great music. And it's really well known, and we didn't know it at the time. We stumbled upon it, and then we're like, wow, this is really legit.
Yeah.
And so we went inside and ended up, it was kind of hard to even find a seat. And then we ended up getting to hang out there for the night, and that was definitely worth it. Jazz was also actually the reason that I went to New Orleans for the first time back in college.
Oh, yeah.
And I was part of the Western Oklahoma State College Jazz Choir. So it's
Did you guys like
cool
wear gloves and and do like hands
well,
every time?
I would have if they would have let me, but no. We ironically we had some pretty hot looking Kelly Green polos that we wore.
Nice.
Yep. No.
Nice.
Too funny. We had actually a ton of different things that we would have to wear, but we got to perform actually in Preservation Hall, which is
That's really cool.
a really big deal. When at the time I didn't know how big of a deal it was. And so, but yeah, we went in there and it was like, it's so old and like, I mean, I run down. Like, it is like going to an old Italian, room or building that is just like, you just see the years and years on it, and can't believe it's still there in some ways. And so it's got a lot of soul, you could say. But yeah, that was a great trip. Actually, there are so many people that I think of when I think of that trip. Tina Burnett, Skyla Ballard, Jason Bookout, Rodney Brazel, Adam Reese, Kurt Carson, so many people. Oh my gosh, it was a really fun trip, and going with college students, of course, is going to be like so fun to be in New Orleans as college students. But I will say we were choir. We were stomping around in our Kelly Green polos. So there's a couple times I'm like, why didn't I just go back to the room and change?
So you went out like that. So you guys were like a gang.
We were like a gang.
Like a doo-wop gang.
Yeah. But apparently we weren't very intimidating because we had some jacked up stuff happen to us. And I will never forget walking along one of the streets. We were on Rampart Street, and so it's a pretty big street. Like, there's probably at least 4 lanes, maybe 6. Like, pretty big street.
Yeah.
And it's just off of the French Quarter, and that's where we were staying. And there was a group of us, probably 4 or 5 of us, I would think, if I'm remembering correctly. And this group of high school students starts walking towards us, and they've been walking towards us for a while, so we weren't really thinking much about it. Mm-hmm. But as they start approaching, a girl within that group just looks me straight in the eye and starts running up to me. And she grabs my purse and tries to rip it off my body. And I was like, wow, what is happening? And I honestly didn't think much about it. Fortunately, I was wearing a crossbody purse, so there wasn't a lot she was going to do to get it off of me. But I made sure of it because I kind of had a knee-jerk reaction, and I knocked her back off of me with my elbow and body weight and just kind of like shoved her back. And she ran off laughing like it was no big deal. Her and her friends were like, we tried, kind of like, you could tell they were just kind of waiting for the next people to show up, and they were going to try it again with somebody and see if they could run off and grab somebody's stuff. But yeah, I will never forget that. And I remember being like, holy crap. And we'd already been warned to be careful. And we were traveling in groups and stuff like that. And I guess they weren't intimidated by our polos or something.
It's like the Sharks and the Jets.
Well, and my friends told me later that they were like, whoa, we didn't really expect you. We never would have thought you would have reacted that way, because I just... it was self-defense, and I just
got down and dirty.
Oh, man. I'm so proud of that. Did you
guys end up, reporting it or at all, or were you just like?
You could tell that was like par for the course.
But did it freak you out for the rest of the night, or was it like a 5-minute thing? Because I mean that's a pretty a physical altercation,
right?
Is like that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it did like rattle me for a little while. And then later on, actually, one of our friends, Jason, he from what I remember, he was jumped in the French Quarters and had his watch taken. Like that's kind of crazy. Like he happened to get off like the beaten path and was by himself and like not good, got to be careful.
Yeah. So maybe don't wear the matching green polos all the time. Maybe that's not. Sort of a giveaway.
Maybe that is a giveaway. Maybe me a target. Maybe a target. But yeah, no, that was crazy. I'm pretty sure now somebody's probably going to test me on this, and they're going to come back to me and be like, "We absolutely did not wear those green polos out," and I'm like, "Well, that's what I remember." but yeah, oh man, but there's so much more to New Orleans than the French Quarter too.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember on that trip we also went on an alligator swamp tour.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what was that like? How far did you have to go to get to swamps?
Not far. I mean, you have to travel a little bit, but not too bad. And we ended up in a covered boat with like rows of seats and not exactly like the speed boat.
Like how many people on the boat?
Oh gosh, probably 20.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe 30. Like it was a pretty big boat, and all of us were packed in there, and the tour guides are like feeding alligators in front of you, so you kind of get to see alligators up close.
So they actually like feed them right there, like
there.
off the boat,
right? And you're not talking about like alligators in a cage, and you're not talking about alligators that have been tamed. You're talking about alligators out of a swamp that are somewhat still out in the wild. I mean, they probably get used to the trainers coming up and stuff, but I say trainers, tour guides, really. But still, they're pretty like.
And now they've associated those boats with food, so
it's really good.
Yeah.
I keep watching those natural park tips now, and I'm like, ooh, that's not a good idea. Yeah, but it was so crazy because those vibes. Now that I think back about being in the swamps and stuff, it reminds me so much of like you just think of like the different movies and TV shows you've seen, and I always think about True Blood.
Oh yeah,
and that vibe. It's just got such a vibe that you're like,
right.
Oh my gosh, that is what it really looks like there. It's crazy.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and we went outside of the French Quarter. Like the next day, we went to the Garden District, which was really cool. Like I loved it.
And I'd never been there before. I didn't know anything about it.
No, and fortunately, we had Jeremy and Casey with us to to tell us like, hey, let's go for brunch over here, and it was awesome.
Research.
Yeah, absolutely, like researching.
Research,
so yeah. Little tip, make sure you research. You'll find great stuff.
And travel with people who research, because they will always make sure you eat at the best places.
Yes.
And they'll make sure you use your time wisely. It's such a gift to everyone else. Yeah,
it really is. And it was Magazine Street, right? And then we ate brunch there, and we walked around. Like there's shopping. We did some shopping.
Yeah.
I know you and Casey shopped some for clothes, while Jeremy and I shopped some for beer. And
that worked out.
Yeah, that was great. But then we walked around the neighborhood, and there are like a lot of famous people have homes there, like Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Jay-Z and Beyonce have a house down there,
or at least all of them have at some point, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think several of them did at that.
Yeah, I think so.
At that point, you guys wouldn't let me knock on any doors, so we can't know for sure. But and so many other homes down there with ties, like the movie Interview with a Vampire.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
movie.
Based in New Orleans, with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and all of them. Like,
yeah.
And
so many famous people in that.
Yeah, and the author's house, Anne Rice, the author, her house is down there. There's a plaque outside of it. Like, we got to walk by that. The Lafayette Cemetery is there. Which,
that was so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to walk around. So many headstones, and it's all above ground because of like the sea level down there, and so all of those tomb sites and mausoleums and things like that. It was definitely cool to just walk through that and see that. Worth going to just for that, let alone all like the shopping and the cool neighborhoods. But such a cool place to just walk around and see and hang out in, and such a different feel from Bourbon Street and the French Quarter. Like, it's so like classy South and old homes and great shops and stuff like that. It was really cool.
Wrought iron fences and really interesting homes, and old homes too.
I think if we were to go back, I would want to stay there somewhere, like find an Airbnb in that neighborhood and be there for a few days. Yeah, in the Garden District. It was really cool.
It was really, really cool. And something about New Orleans that I don't think many people think of is just how photogenic it is.
It really is.
The camera loves New Orleans in so many ways. Like, there's just so many things that you see and you're like, it says so many things. And so every photo
all the old
is so
trees and the Spanish moss and all that. Just so cool.
Very cool.
Such like, well, just like we said at the beginning, such a rich culture there. It definitely stands on its own. A completely unique city. If you haven't been, you should definitely go. All of it is so good, so worth going. Go back and stay a while if you can. But if you can't stay a while, work it into a trip. Make sure that you go. It's a great spot. It was just awesome to be there. Would definitely go back.
Yeah, and before we wrap things up, we do want to hear from you guys about New Orleans. So tell us your recommended places to eat, drink.
Yeah.
Where to stay, any good stories you have, any good people watching you have, for sure.
Tell us that.
And then share all that with us on social media. You guys know we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, and we are also posting some of our own photos, so you can, see the pictures that are worth 1,000 words.
They will be there. And if you enjoyed today's episode, do us a big favor. Go out there, rate, review, and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you listen.
Yeah.
You can also learn more about us at travelfomopodcast.com, and make sure that you turn on all your notifications so that you will find out when our next episode drops, because next week we're going to Chicago.
Yay!
It's a great spot. If you haven't been to Chicago, it's awesome. City vibes, beach vibes, huge river, all the shopping, all the sports. The food is amazing. We love Chicago. We realize that you don't have to live there to love it and be all about it, and we are. So we're excited to tell you about everything that we've done in Chicago, and that will be next week.
That's right. And it is a great place to live up life. Life is so short.
Wander well.